Excuse me. That machine is for paying customers only. Those words cut through the morning air at a gas station in Atlanta, but what happened next would leave everyone speechless. A black woman in casual clothes was being confronted by the day manager while trying to use the coffee machine. She looked calm, but you could see the hurt in her eyes. Either buy something or leave, the manager demanded, his voice getting louder. We're not running a charity here. The other customers stopped what they were doing. An elderly woman near the snack aisle shook her head in disbelief. She knew something the manager didn't know. Something that would change everything in the next 7 minutes. Have you ever walked into a place where you belonged, only to be treated like you didn't? Have you ever been judged before you even opened your mouth? Maybe it happened at work, at a store, or even at a restaurant. That moment when someone looks at you and decides you don't deserve respect. That moment when your skin color becomes the only thing they see. Well, that's exactly what happened on this Tuesday morning. But here's the thing. This wasn't just any customer being discriminated against. This was about to become the most expensive mistake this manager would ever make. See, workplace discrimination happens every single day across America. Black people get followed in stores, questioned about their presence, and treated like they're up to no good. Most of the time, there's no justice. Most of the time, people just have to swallow their pride and walk away. Most of the time, the person doing the discriminating never faces any real consequences. But not today. Not at this gas station. Not with this woman. Because what the manager didn't know was that he had just denied service to the one person who had the power to end his career in under 10 minutes. What he didn't know was that every word, every gesture, every moment of disrespect was being recorded. What he didn't know would shock him to his core. In just 7 minutes, this entire situation would flip upside down. 7 minutes from insult to justice. 7 minutes that would teach everyone watching a lesson they'd never forget. So tell us in the comments, where are you watching from right now? And hit that like button if you've ever experienced workplace bias or discrimination. Because this story is about to show you exactly what happens when the tables turn. Let's dive in. The woman standing at that coffee machine wasn't just any customer. Her name was Dr. Camille Washington, and at 42 years old, she was living proof that dreams could become reality against all odds. Camille hadn't always been successful. 15 years earlier, she was a single mother working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. During the day, she cleaned office buildings downtown. At night, she stocked shelves at a grocery store. Her daughter would sleep in the break room while Camille finished her shifts. But Camille had a dream that kept her going. She wanted to build something that would last. Something that would create jobs in her community. Something that would prove that Black women could build business empires too. So she went back to school. Every spare minute between jobs, every weekend, every holiday, she studied. Business management, accounting, finance. Her textbooks were worn out from reading them over and over. Her laptop was held together with duct tape, but it got her through every online class. After 6 years of grinding, she graduated with her MBA. Not from some fancy university, but from a state school that she could afford. She didn't walk across the stage because she was working that day, but that piece of paper represented everything she had sacrificed. Her first gas station was a rundown place on the south side of Atlanta. The previous owner was desperate to sell. Camille used every penny of her savings, took out loans that scared her to death, and opened Washington Energy Solutions. She didn't just want to sell gas and snacks. She wanted to create a community hub, a place where neighbors could gather, where local products were sold, where young people could get their first jobs. She installed bulletin boards for job postings, partnered with local schools, and made sure her prices were fair. That first station was just the beginning. Within 12 years, she owned 12 locations across 3 states. She employed over 200 people and had become one of the few Black women in America to own a chain of gas stations. The flagship location on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard was her pride and joy. She had designed every detail herself. The 4,200 square foot space included a full convenience store, a small cafe serving food from local Black-owned restaurants, and that community resource center that had grown from a simple bulletin board. This wasn't just a business to Camille. This was her legacy. This was her way of giving back to the community that had supported her through the hard times. Every dollar spent here stayed in the neighborhood. Every job created helped another family build their future. But on this Tuesday morning, Camille wasn't planning to visit any of her locations. She had a full schedule of meetings with investors who wanted to help her expand into 2 more states. Her assistant had blocked out the entire day for presentations and contract reviews. Then at 10:15 a.m., her phone buzzed. Meeting canceled, client emergency. Just like that, her morning was free. Camille was already dressed down from her usual business suits. She had planned to change into her formal wear after a quick workout, but now she had time to kill. She was only 15 minutes away from the MLK Boulevard location, and she remembered that they had installed a new inventory management system last week. Why not check on things? She rarely made surprise visits, but this seemed like the perfect opportunity. As she pulled her silver BMW into the parking lot at 10:47 a.m., she had no idea that the next few minutes would test everything she had built. She had no idea that her casual clothes would trigger assumptions that would change someone's life forever. Hit that subscribe button right now for more stories of Black excellence and entrepreneurship. We're just getting started. Behind the counter stood Marcus Rivera, 6 months into his job as day shift manager. At 28, Marcus thought he was doing well for himself. He had an associate's degree in business management and solid references from his previous job at a competing chain. But Marcus carried something he didn't even recognize: unconscious bias that had never been challenged. Growing up in a mostly white suburb outside Atlanta, Marcus rarely interacted with Black people beyond casual encounters. When he moved to this neighborhood for the job, the demographic shift made him uncomfortable, though he would never admit it out loud. During his interview with Camille's regional manager, Marcus had said all the right things about customer service and community engagement. He had completed the company's diversity training modules, rushing through them like they were just corporate paperwork to get through. What Marcus didn't understand was that those training sessions weren't just formalities. They were designed to help employees recognize their own biases before those biases hurt real people. As Camille walked toward the coffee machine, Marcus looked up from counting the morning's receipts. He saw a Black woman in jeans and a casual blazer examining the expensive espresso equipment. In his mind, red flags started going up. The machine was new, high-tech, and cost the company thousands of dollars. To Marcus, seeing someone he didn't recognize studying it so closely seemed suspicious. He didn't see a potential customer. He didn't see someone who might work in the corporate office. He saw what his unconscious bias told him to see: a threat. "Excuse me," Marcus called out, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. "That machine is for paying customers only." Camille looked up, genuinely surprised. She expected to be recognized at her own location, but she understood that Marcus might not know her in casual clothes. "I'm sorry," she replied, giving him a chance to correct course. But Marcus doubled down. "The coffee machine," he repeated, walking around the counter toward her. His body language was aggressive, his voice getting louder. "You need to purchase something first. We've had problems with people just coming in here and using our facilities without buying anything." The 3 other customers in the store stopped what they were doing. A young mother with her toddler looked uncomfortable. A construction worker picking up his morning energy drink shook his head. But it was the elderly Black woman near the chips aisle who recognized exactly what was happening. Mrs. Dorothy Jenkins was 67 years old and had been shopping at this location since Camille opened it 3 years ago. As a retired teacher who had spent 40 years dealing with all kinds of people, she could spot discrimination from a mile away. More importantly, She knew exactly who Camille was. Mrs. Jenkins had watched Camille transform this corner from an abandoned lot into a thriving business. She had seen her hire local teenagers for their first jobs. She had watched her sponsor community events and support local schools. This young man had no idea who he was talking to. "I understand your policy," Camille said calmly, though her heart was starting to race. She recognized the familiar sting of being judged before she even spoke. "But I think there might be some confusion here." "No confusion," Marcus shot back, his voice carrying across the entire store now. "Either buy something or leave. We're not running a charity here." Those words hit like a slap. The assumption was clear. Camille looked like someone who couldn't afford to be there, someone who was trying to take advantage, someone who didn't belong. The young mother grabbed her child's hand and moved toward the exit, uncomfortable with the tension. The construction worker stayed, but pulled out his phone, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Mrs. Jenkins stepped closer, her teacher instincts kicking in. She had broken up enough code playground fights to know when a situation was about to explode. "Son," she said to Marcus, her voice carrying decades of authority, "you might want to think carefully about what you're doing right now." But Marcus was too deep in his own assumptions to listen. "Ma'am, please don't interfere. I'm just doing my job." "Your job?" Mrs. Jenkins repeated, her eyebrows raised. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" Camille felt the familiar weight of discrimination settling on her shoulders. How many times had she been in this position? How many times had she been forced to prove she belonged somewhere? How many times had she been judged by her skin color before anything else? But this time was different. This time, she had the power to do something about it immediately. The tension in the store was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every customer was watching. Every word was being absorbed. And somewhere above them, 6 security cameras were recording every single moment. Leave a comment right now if you've ever witnessed discrimination like this, because what happens next will show you exactly what justice looks like. Camille pulled out her phone and opened the app that connected directly to the store's surveillance system. She had insisted on this technology when designing all her locations, the ability to monitor her businesses from anywhere. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady but firm, "I need you to step into the office with me." "I'm not going anywhere with you," Marcus replied, his defensiveness reaching new heights. "I'm calling the police if you don't leave right now." That's when Camille dropped the bomb that would change everything. "Please do call them," she said calmly, holding up her phone screen showing the live security feeds. "But first, let me introduce myself properly. I'm Dr. Camille Washington, and I own this gas station." The color drained from Marcus's face like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His eyes darted around the store, suddenly seeing it differently. The business license on the wall, the community awards, the professional photos he had never really noticed. Mrs. Jenkins stepped forward, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "That's right, young man. That's Dr. Washington. She built this place from nothing, hired your behind, and has done more for this community than you'll ever understand." The construction worker who had been recording looked at his phone screen, then at Camille, then back at Marcus. The young mother who had started to leave stopped at the door, realizing she was witnessing something historic. Marcus looked around desperately, as if the walls might offer him an escape. The security cameras that he walked under every day suddenly felt like spotlights. Every policy manual he had skimmed, every training module he had rushed through, came flooding back. I can explain," Marcus stammered, but Camille held up her hand. "There's nothing to explain right now," she said, walking toward the office behind the counter. "We're going to review exactly what just happened, and then we're going to handle this appropriately." The office was small but organized. On the wall hung Camille's business license with her name clearly displayed as owner, along with several community service awards the station had received. Marcus had walked past these documents hundreds of times without really seeing them. Camille opened her laptop and logged into the surveillance system. The high-definition cameras had captured every word, every gesture, every moment of the confrontation. She pulled up the footage from the past 15 minutes. "I want you to watch this," she said, turning the screen toward Marcus. "I want you to see exactly what happened here through my eyes." As the footage played, Marcus watched himself transform from a professional employee into someone he barely recognized. He could see the moment his whole demeanor changed when he noticed Camille. He watched his body language become hostile. He heard the dismissive tone in his own voice. Most damaging of all, he could see the contrast between how he had treated the white customers earlier that morning and how he had approached her. The difference was stark, undeniable, and recorded in crystal-clear video. "According to your employment file," Camille said, opening another screen, "you completed our diversity and inclusion training on February 15th. You scored 87%, which means you understood the material well enough to pass. So what happened to that knowledge today?" Marcus stared at his hands, unable to meet her eyes. "I don't know," he whispered. "I guess I wasn't thinking clearly." "That's exactly the problem," Camille replied, her fingers already moving across the keyboard. Discrimination isn't usually about conscious hatred. It's about unconscious bias that goes unchecked. But the impact on the person receiving it is the same regardless of your intent. She opened the employee management system that connected to payroll, scheduling, and HR records. With practiced efficiency, she pulled up Marcus's complete employment profile. "You violated our anti-discrimination policy, our customer service standards, and basic human decency," she continued, documenting everything in real time. "You denied service to a customer based purely on assumptions about her race and appearance." The technology that Camille had invested in was now working exactly as intended. Every policy violation was being documented. Every step of the process was being recorded. Every decision was being backed up by clear evidence. Share this video right now if you believe in swift justice when discrimination happens. Because what comes next happens in less than 3 minutes. What happened next was a masterclass in swift, decisive leadership. Let me break down those 7 minutes that changed everything. Minute 1. Camille began typing on her laptop, accessing the HR management system. First step, revoke all access. With 3 keystrokes, she removed Marcus from the point-of-sale system. He could no longer process transactions, access cash drawers, or control the fuel pumps. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked, panic creeping into his voice. "Following company protocol," Camille replied without looking up. Minute 2. She opened the scheduling system and removed Marcus from all future shifts. Every week for the next month, gone. The system automatically sent notifications to other managers about the sudden schedule change. Marcus watched the screen, finally understanding that this wasn't going to end with a warning or a second chance. Minutes 3 to 4. Camille pulled up the incident report template and began documenting everything in real time. Date, time, witnesses present, specific words used, policy violations. She attached the surveillance footage directly to the report. Her fingers moved with the efficiency of someone who had built a business from scratch. Every detail mattered. Every fact needed to be recorded. This wasn't about revenge. This was about protecting her company, her employees, and her customers. "You can't just fire me," Marcus said desperately. "I have rights." "You absolutely have rights," Camille replied, still typing. "Georgia is an at-will employment state, which means I can terminate your employment for any legal reason. Discrimination against customers based on race is definitely a legal reason." Minute 5. She opened the payroll system and updated Marcus's employment status to terminated. The system calculated his final paycheck according to state law. He would receive payment for hours worked through today, delivered within the next regular pay period. "Marcus Rivera," she said, her voice taking on a formal tone, Your employment with Washington Energy Solutions is terminated effective immediately for violation of company anti-discrimination policies. Minute 6. Camille stood up and held out her hand. I need your name tag, store keys, and any other company property you have with you. Marcus's hands shook as he unpinned his name tag. He fumbled with the key ring, trying to separate his personal keys from the store keys. The reality was hitting him like a freight train. This isn't fair, he mumbled. You know what's not fair? Camille replied. Judging someone by their skin color before they even speak. You know what's not fair? Making assumptions about whether someone belongs in a place they literally own. Minute 7. Camille picked up her phone and called her regional manager, Jasmine Carter. Jasmine, it's Camille. I need emergency coverage at MLK Boulevard immediately. I just terminated Marcus for discriminating against a customer. Yes, I have everything documented. Surveillance footage is already uploaded. Can you be here in 30 minutes? Marcus gathered his personal items, a water bottle, a phone charger, a small notebook. He walked toward the back exit, his head down, his career in retail likely over. As he reached the door, Camille spoke one last time. Marcus, I hope you learned something from this. I hope you take some time to really think about how your actions affect other people. There are consequences when you treat people badly, and today you face those consequences. The back door closed behind him with a soft click. 7 minutes. From discrimination to termination. From employment to unemployment. From thinking he was in control to learning he never was. Hit that like button right now if you support zero tolerance for discrimination in the workplace. Justice served swiftly is justice served right. As Marcus walked out the back door, Camille turned to face the customers who had witnessed everything. The construction worker was still recording. Mrs. Jenkins stood near the counter with her arms crossed, nodding her approval. The young mother had come back inside, clearly wanting to show her support. I apologize to everyone for what just happened, Camille announced to the store. That behavior does not represent the values of this company or this community. The construction worker, whose name was Tony, stepped forward. Ma'am, you handled that exactly right. That was some real leadership right there. He held up his phone. I got the whole thing on video. You mind if I post this? That's up to you, Camille replied. The truth doesn't scare me. Within 2 hours, Tony's video was blowing up on social media. The caption read, Black CEO fires racist manager in her own gas station. Watch justice happen in real time. The video spread like wildfire. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, everyone was sharing it. Comments poured in from across the country. This is what accountability looks like. Finally, someone with power who actually uses it for good. That manager learned today. Support Black-owned businesses. But the story went deeper than just one viral video. Mrs. Jenkins called her pastor, Reverend David Williams from Mount Olive Baptist Church. He called the local NAACP chapter president. She called the Black Business Owners Association. Word spread through the community network faster than any social media platform could carry it. By evening, Camille's phone was buzzing nonstop. Local news stations wanted interviews. Community leaders were calling to express support. Other Black business owners were sharing their own stories of discrimination. What you did today matters, Reverend Williams told her over the phone. You showed our young people that success means nothing if you don't stand up for what's right. The incident highlighted a harsh reality that many people preferred to ignore. Black business owners across America face discrimination regularly, from customers, suppliers, and even their own employees. A recent study showed that 67% of Black entrepreneurs had experienced racial bias in their business dealings. Most of the time, there was no justice. Most of the time, discriminatory employees kept their jobs. Most of the time, the victims just had to swallow their pride and keep moving. But Camille had something most victims didn't have: power and the willingness to use it immediately. Within a week, She had completely overhauled her company's training program. She brought in Dr. Michael Thompson, a specialist in workplace bias, to redesign the diversity modules. Instead of online videos that employees could rush through, the new program required face-to-face sessions, role-playing exercises, and quarterly refresher training. She also implemented a customer feedback system that would flag potential discrimination incidents before they escalated. Anonymous tip lines, regular surveys, and mystery shoppers would help catch problems early. The surveillance footage from Marcus's termination became a training tool, with identifying information removed, showing employees exactly what discriminatory behavior looked like and what the consequences would be. 7 minutes from incident to termination, she told her management team. That's our new standard. No warnings, no second chances when it comes to discrimination. The community response was overwhelming. In the month following the incident, foot traffic at all 12 of Camille's locations increased by 23%. Customers drove past other gas stations specifically to support her businesses. A local credit union started a Support Black Business campaign, using Camille's story as inspiration. 3 other Black entrepreneurs in the area reported increased sales after the video went viral. Marcus, meanwhile, struggled to find new employment. The incident had been widely reported, and potential employers weren't interested in hiring someone with a documented history of discriminatory behavior. He eventually enrolled in community college courses on diversity and inclusion, hoping to demonstrate genuine change. The story reached far beyond Atlanta. Business schools began using it as a case study in crisis management and corporate responsibility. HR departments shared the video in training sessions about swift response to discrimination. 6 months later, Camille received a letter from a young Black woman in Detroit who had started her own business after watching the video. "You showed me that success comes with responsibility," the letter read, "and that when you have power, you use it to protect others." That letter reminded Camille why those 7 minutes mattered so much. It wasn't just about firing one discriminatory employee. It was about setting a standard for how business leaders should respond when discrimination happens. Dr. Camille Washington's story teaches us powerful lessons that go far beyond one gas station in Atlanta. These are lessons we all need to understand and apply in our own lives. First lesson: power comes with responsibility. When you achieve success, when you build wealth, when you gain influence, you have a choice. You can use that power to protect yourself only, or you can use it to protect others who don't have the same advantages. Camille could have quietly handled the situation behind closed doors. She could have given Marcus a warning and moved on. Instead, she chose to take a public stand against discrimination. Success means nothing if you don't use it to make things better for the people coming behind you. When you have the ability to create change, you have the responsibility to act. Second lesson: swift action sends the strongest message. 7 minutes. That's how long it took from discrimination to termination. Camille didn't form a committee. She didn't schedule meetings to discuss it. She didn't wait for HR to investigate for weeks. She acted immediately, and that speed sent a clear message to everyone watching. When you see injustice, the time to act is now. Delays give discrimination time to spread. Hesitation tells victims that their pain doesn't matter. Quick action tells everyone where you stand. Third lesson: building inclusive spaces requires constant vigilance. Camille thought her training programs were good enough. She thought hiring the right people would prevent these problems. But discrimination still happened right under her nose. This taught her that creating inclusive environments isn't a one-time effort. It's ongoing work that requires attention every single day. You can't just hope people will do the right thing. You have to create systems that catch problems early and hold people accountable for their actions. Fourth lesson: supporting Black-owned businesses matters more than you think. When customers chose to support Camille's locations after this incident, they weren't just buying gas and snacks. They were investing in a business owner who had proven she would stand up for what's right. They were supporting someone who kept money in their community and created good jobs for their neighbors. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. When you support businesses that share your values, you're helping those values spread. Fifth lesson: one moment can define your entire legacy. Marcus had worked at that gas station for 6 months, but those 7 minutes of discrimination will follow him forever. Camille had built her business over 12 years, but those same 7 minutes showed the world exactly who she was and what she stood for. The choices you make when nobody's watching, and especially when everybody is watching, reveal your true character. The next time you see discrimination happening, ask yourself, what would Dr. Camille Washington do? Would she stay silent? Would she make excuses? Or would she take action? Subscribe right now and ring that bell for more inspiring stories of people who used their success to make a difference. Because the world needs more leaders like Dr. Camille Washington. 2 years later, Dr. Camille Washington's influence extends far beyond her 12 gas stations. She established a scholarship fund for local students pursuing business degrees. She partnered with community organizations to provide financial literacy workshops. Her internship program has trained over 50 young people for leadership roles. The MLK Boulevard location became more than just a gas station. It became a symbol of what happens when business success meets social responsibility. The Community Bulletin Board grew into a full resource center offering job placement services and small business mentoring. Those 7 minutes created ripple effects that are still spreading today. Other business owners across the country have adopted Camille's 7-minute standard for addressing discrimination. Her story is taught in business schools as the gold standard for crisis leadership. Marcus eventually completed his diversity training and found work at a nonprofit organization focused on racial reconciliation. He often references that Tuesday morning as the wake-up call that changed his life. As for Camille, she continues to prove that success without purpose is meaningless. Those 7 minutes didn't just fire one discriminatory employee. They showed the world what leadership looks like when it really matters. So tell us, what would you have done in Dr. Washington's position? Comment below, and don't forget to like and share this story with someone who needs to hear it.